Access Committee. I'm Betty Feibush. Taya will be posting the rules of engagement for the committee. We might not always agree. We listen with respect. We call upon people at the appropriate time, and everyone has an important point of view and will be heard. I don't yet have a quorum for the committee, but I'm going to ask the committee members to introduce themselves as well as community board members. So I'll call on you to make it easier. I see Santia.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening. My name is Santia Polisi. I am a committee member and board member.
Welcome. And I see Sam.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Johnson. I'm a committee member and a board member.
Welcome. I don't see anyone else from the committee. If someone else is there, just shout out. But excuse me, I do want to introduce Barbara Zalagringa, who's the second vice chair of the board and the chair of Parks. Barbara, do you want to introduce yourself? Okay, I don't hear her. I see that Nick has joined. Nick, please introduce yourself. Are these people muted? Please unmute.
My apologies, Ms. Feibush. We still had the security settings for the 5-hour transportation meeting last Thursday. Please feel free to unmute yourselves.
Great. Okay, so I want Nick to introduce himself and then Barbara Zalagringa.
Hi, thank you. So I'm literally in the middle of Times Square. I am Nick Guerrero, a committee and board member.
Welcome. And
Thanks.
stay safe out there in Times Square. And Barbara?
Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to go on. The next item is to adopt the agenda. So from the committee members, do we all agree on the agenda as stated? Raise your hand. Okay. Next, we have the previous minutes, which were from the meeting of May 2022. Did everyone have a chance to read it? Are there any corrections, additions? If you do have a correction or an addition, please send it to the district office. Sometimes there could be a typo or something like that. Okay, so now we have the part of open session. This is for brief comments on the agenda items. I'm not asking for a large summary, but if somebody has something to say, you will have a 2-minute chance at the end of the presentation of the EDC. But if somebody has something very briefly for, I'm going to say less than 2 minutes, just on the agenda item, which would be the EDC presentation about the update of Abolitionist Place, please let me know so I can call upon you. I see Raul from Friends of Abolitionist Place. Taya, can you time this?
I gotcha.
Thank you. Okay, Raul.
Hi, good evening. I just want to welcome our friends from the EDC. We have a cultural institution at 227 Abolitionist Place, and Abolitionist Place Park was renamed for our work. And so I really hope to partner with you guys because we're a cultural institution directly abutting this thing. And I hopefully, please stay in contact with us. I would love to coordinate with you as much as possible because we're partners here. That's it. Thank you. Just a welcome.
Thank you. Is there anyone else at this time from the community who wishes to comment just on the agenda item? Do you see any, Taya?
I'm not sure if Mr. Du is trying to speak. He may be, Mr. Du, I think your video might be frozen. I'm so sorry.
Well, it's
Oh,
not
there you
frozen on this end. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
No, I don't have anything to add at this point, but I'm very interested in the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, hearing no one else at this moment, but there will be a time to comment. I want to very warmly welcome the presenters from EDC. The need for a green public space in downtown Brooklyn as a result of the rezoning, the large number of buildings, the density of buildings calls so much for an open green space in that area. So we are delighted to continue. I see this as continuing a conversation that has started. We've had various meetings at the Parks Committee has taken many of the meetings. We've had some, I believe there have been some with other groups in CB2. I know that the electeds have been involved and the community partners. And we all agree we want to see something to serve the people in our community. And we're excited that everybody has a viewpoint and wants something positive to happen in that space in a collaborative fashion. So with that, I believe, Justin, are you the first person to speak? I call upon you, and thank you so much for coming to our meeting. Welcome. Unmute, please.
Yeah, there we go. I was having some difficulties manually taking myself off mute, so others may be having that problem as well. But thank you, Madam Chair, for the warm welcome and others who have welcomed us to present tonight. Hopefully, so yeah, I'll just kind of kick things off. Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here tonight to present the updated design of Abolitionist Place. We have worked in partnership with Councilmember Lincoln Ressler, Downtown Brooklyn Partnership, and members of the community board to ensure this design is responsive to the feedback and concerns that we have heard. We hope that after you see the design tonight, that you all are excited and eager to celebrate a grand opening as early as next summer. And without further ado, I will pass it off to my colleague, Simon Bestelel, to present the design.
Hey, good evening. Thanks for having us. My name is Simon Betzelel. I'm with the Capital Division at EDC. We build the projects on behalf of the organization. So I'll update you a bit, as Justin said, about sort of how we've come to a revision in our design in response to community feedback. So I'll step through presentation. Sorry about that. So as was just said, we're familiar with the location in the center of downtown Brooklyn, a very dense, quickly developing neighborhood. So this will be our kind of premier green open space centering in the neighborhood, familiar with the location. So just to reorient you to the design that was previously shown and approved in 2019, a lot of uses being accommodated within this footprint. We have a playground, a water feature, a cafe seating area, an open lawn, a dog park, as well as a lot of landscaping to really bring a lot of needed greenery to the neighborhood. This is the rendering of that originally proposed design that you may be familiar with. It's on our project sign on our construction site currently. It has been kind of shared as sort of the vision for what this will look like on completion. So then to bring it specifically to what we're discussing today is the southern portion of the open space. So that's indicated here in pink. So we visited this after concerns around the dog park being located adjacent to 227 Duffield, as well as to accommodate the stabilization work that's being done by DDC to stabilize and secure 227 Duffield as a structure. So to accommodate those uses and to be responsive, we revisited this area to try and see what we can do to accommodate within our tight footprint. So here is what we're proposing, and I'll zoom in on this in just a moment. But from a high level, we're replacing where the dog run originally was located with the flexible seating area, similar to the cafe that's along Albee Square West. And we are using a small amount of the landscaped area to still accommodate a dog run within the open space. So just to kind of reorient you with what a dog run entails, we have boulders for the dogs to use. We have bench seating. We have a gated access point to get into the dog park, as well as water for humans and dogs, and dog waste receptacles. So all those are kind of the physical elements that we were working to accommodate in our new location. So here's some more detail on sort of our revised proposal, taking that original footprint of the dog park, translating that into a seating area. Again, flexible seating and tables similar to that cafe area, crushed gravel, granite with a small amount of stabilizer as a surface treatment similar to the cafe area. So really kind of trying to tie it in programmatically with the other part of the park. And then the dog run taking up a little bit of the landscaped area and still containing all those elements of a dog run. So seating, boulders, gated entry, human water and dog water, and dog waste receptacles. So all still within the footprint of our park and hopefully accommodating all the users that want to see a home in this park in the future. This is a rendering of what that dog run looked like originally. This is it re-envisioned as the seating area. Unfortunately, the design is kind of fresh. We wanted to show it to you as it was developing. So I don't have a similar rendering of the proposed dog park. But just to kind of revisit, the high level orientation, and I'll come back to this in just a moment. But Justin mentioned currently our schedule is projecting that the open space will be substantially complete in August 2023, so a little over a year from now. We wanted to show this proposal to you before we go to PDC next month in July. So yeah, just wanted to update you on the work that we've been doing, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. I would like to ask, are there any members of my committee first who would like to ask a question? And I think I want to go to gallery view so I can see the people.
Simon, do you mind taking your visual down for just a second? Feel free to put it back up if someone asks a question.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I see a hand, so various hands. So first I want to see anyone from my committee, Youth Education and Cultural Affairs. Any questions? I'm looking, I don't see anyone from my committee at the moment. I'm going to call on Barbara Zala Gringo, who's the chair of the park, since she's been following this very closely.
Thank you, Betty, and thank you for that presentation. It's interesting. You're going to make a lot of dog lovers very happy by still including it, but it won't be a problem the way it was before. And I was wondering if tonight you were going to talk at all about the possibility of having a monument in the park, in addition to the already engaged artist with her words. So I was just wondering if there's been any consideration to listening to a lot of the people who are concerned about a monument to some women in this park.
So
Yeah, Justin.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Barbara.
Sure.
And as you know, we have heard, community feedback and in wanting a monument. And the city, as you know, Simon alluded to earlier, is planning on including that portion of the open space, so the temporary flex seating area that the dog run was initially located in. The city is planning to include that portion of the open space with the future design for 227 Duffield. So I think there is possibility to have conversations with the city to possibly have a monument included a part of that design, but still more to come.
Okay, thank you for that update.
Thank you. I see Mr. Dew's hand. Mr. Dew?
You're on mute, Mr. Dew.
Oh, Mr. Dew, guess what I'm gonna say? Turn that camera off, John. We can't hear you.
Oh, my goodness.
Mr. Dew, I'm sorry, can you cut your video? We might be able to hear you better. Okay, try now.
I just,
There you go.
is that better?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, you have it easy. My sister in spirit, Barbara Zella Granger, asked all of the questions that I was going to ask. This project, of course, you've heard, goes back to when the downtown Brooklyn was upzoned. And under the park was supposed to be a 400-car parking garage. We didn't get that. So in any event, it looks very nice. And I'm going to ask if there's an opportunity to include a roller skating rink.
Mr. Dew, I appreciate the question. However, I think with the limited amount of space that we do have and the amount of uses that we were able to fit in, I do think a roller rink would somewhat be a little unfeasible for the amount of space that we have here. So,
Okay, I will accept that.
but Mr. Dew, you are more
Thank
than
you for
happy
that.
to wear skates and ride through the open space and around it. So.
I can ride and snatch glasses from the folks sitting in the sitting plaza. Would that be okay?
I don't think you would do that, Mr. Dew. So
You don't think I would do that?
I would hope not, Mr. Dew.
Thank you.
I see somebody by the name of Tricia. Can you say your last name?
Sure, it's Ben Davies.
Oh, how do you say the other part of the name? Oh, Olyenka?
Ben Davies.
Thank you. Please tell us your question or concern.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up Mr. Dew's comment about the rolling rink. I am actually from Flatbush. I lived in Flatbush, and I'm with the Friends of Flatbush. So the park there, we have the LaFrac Center. Has that beautiful skating rink. And I'm actually not sure how that whole process happens, but I know that there was a skating rink that was not too far away on Empire Boulevard that was there for many, many years. And, the community lost that space. And so to have it, at that park close by, I think is really beautiful. And so in that same sense that, a space was lost and now it's kind of refound in a different way. With the Abolitionist home, I would love to see just the park be really integrated with the history of the neighborhood. Everyone loves Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn. My whole family is just like, why Brooklyn? It doesn't make any sense. But to folks who are from here and live here, it has that quality that you can't quite describe. And I really feel like it's our history of being an abolitionist neighborhood and city. It's almost like it was like a sanctuary city. And so I think that history is something that not a lot of folks know about. And we have a really great opportunity with the development of the Heritage Center at the home. And then to have this park that's right adjacent we share the name, that Mama Joy Chattel, who was the last owner of the home, really spearheaded having the street renamed from Duffield Street to Abolitionist Place. And so this is just a really exciting time, and I'm hoping that, as Raul said, that the EDC will, we can partner together to kind of make it an integrated effort. I know that with a lot of the community engagement that we've done, there's been a lot of desire and excitement for representational art, with everything with the Sisters in Freedom campaign that we're hoping to have some statues up in the space. I know that, I think it was Justin, you mentioned that that's something that can happen in the future. So yeah, I think just, it would be really beautiful to have this all be a cohesive kind of outdoor space that everyone can enjoy. And also, like, this is the youth education committee, right? So
Yeah.
people can have, a space that they can travel to. Probably, not all the trains go there, so they wouldn't have to go very far to have an outdoor space outside of the four walls of their classroom, to have some real, tangible interaction with this history that is, you can only get in Brooklyn. I'll stop rambling, but thank you all so much.
Thank you for the
Thank
for
you.
the comments.
From a fellow Brooklynite, yes. I see that Mr. Dew has another question, and then I see Raul as well. So Mr. Dew first and Raul.
I thought I asked, in the event, I should just mention that in 2004, when we did the rezoning of downtown Brooklyn, I mentioned earlier that there was supposed to be a large parking garage under the park. The other items that were negotiated as community benefits but not received was ADA compliance for all of the subway stations, and also a public bathroom. When we began discussing the public bathroom, it was supposed to be possibly, I'm sorry, in the park. So has there been any mention of that whatsoever?
Mr. Dew, thank you for the question. Unfortunately, as of right now, we have not been discussing that aspect. So no, as of right now, no.
So to follow up on that, is there a possibility or a precedent for portisans or a temporary structure to be there? Because if people are using the park, sometimes they do need a facility. And we want this park to be welcoming to people, of course.
I mean, maybe some, I can take that back and somewhat kind of revisit. However, I will say that I would like this body to keep in mind that this is not a park. This is an open space. And I think,
Right.
there is a difference. However, I do hear the feedback. And again, I will take that, internally and see if there's anything that can be done in that regard.
Thank you. Raul?
Okay, hi. So I'm very encouraged that the dog run was moved, and I'm very encouraged that there's been some movement based on community input, and I definitely want to do that. It's something that may seem a bit of an aside, but it's actually, I don't think it is. I just want to emphasize that Friends of Abolitionist Place, we welcome the artists. Like, we do not have any sort of animosity, anything that has, if we've ever seemed less than welcoming, we deeply apologize for that. We want to work with the artistic vision, and we want to have our own vision in there too. I think there's room for all of us, and I really would again want to emphasize, please stay in touch with us so that we can create something together. I'm also hoping that the Public Design Commission meeting can be, the last meeting was in executive session, and I hope this is in public session. I don't know if you have any influence on that, but I do think that this deserves a real public, I think it will be better the more public input there is and the more transparency in the process, which means specifically having that meeting in with a ability to have public discussion and not just executive session.
Which, I'm sorry, which meeting?
So
Which presentation?
There's going to be apparently this design is going to go before the Public Design Commission, from what we just heard today. And the last there was a meeting of the Public Design Commission. The last one, I forget how many months ago it was in executive session. So there was no chance to comment on it or for any sort of public input. And I think that's a missed opportunity. This is a public space, and I mean, people did lose their homes to build this spot, and I do want to. I think there's. I think it's fair to ask for an extra level of public engagement on this, yeah, I think that's it. I probably have more to say, but I probably have said way too much already. So please stay in touch with me. I invite the EDC to stay in touch with us. I'm going to include my email in the chat, but I'm not the only one here. I'm just kind of the most, the one who takes the most airtime here. So
I appreciate the comments, Raul. And I do want to add and just somewhat clarify if there's a little bit of misconfusion here, that there are going to be two kind of different processes in PDC. There's one for the open space and one for the artwork and all the art installation. So just wanted to kind of make that clear. What Simon referenced is just going to be about the open space design, not the artwork. The artwork, still more to come there. I think DCLA is going to be working with the artist and coming back to the community board with an update. So.
Thank you. I see that Trisha, you have your hand up. Is that from before, or is that a new hand up?
New hand. Justin, you just mentioned that there's a difference between a park and an open space, and I don't know the difference. Can you share that?
To be honest, the specifications, and Simon, I don't know if you can kind of speak to this with some clarity. Actually, go ahead, Simon.
Yeah, sure. It's a technical thing. This is an open space versus a park because it's not managed by the Parks Department. It will be maintained and operated by the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership. So it's sort of just an issue of ownership and maintenance.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think the natural inclination to call it Abolitionist Park.
Yeah.
So I just, but there's a difference. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's one of those little caveats.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question,
saw
Tracy.
some people I want to recognize that are on our board. I see Carol Hubbard coming and Wary. Do you want to say hello? I want to acknowledge you attending this meeting. Okay, and I see some.
Hello, yes, I'm glad that he clarified that because we did have quite an issue on the Parks Committee regarding not calling it Abolitionist Place Park. Because it's an open space and it's not managed by the Parks Department. I also hope they will truly visit having some kind of bathroom, restroom facilities in the space. The answer that was given a little earlier doesn't sound like it's actually being thought through.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, so moving along, I want to acknowledge other board members. We have some new board members. I don't know everyone's name, but I do know Ellis Scope, I believe. You're a new board member. Welcome. I don't know if you're on this committee or not. We haven't heard who's joining us, but I know you've joined our committee meetings. So yes. Welcome.
Thank you. And
I hope you join our committee.
Thank you and good evening, everybody. I'm really glad to be here. I'm pretty excited to hear about this new open space. And I've seen it, and now I'm going to go back there and look at it in a whole different way. And I want to thank you for that.
I think it's kind of a construction site. The last time I went by, it was all boarded up. But yes, we're going to be keeping an eye on its development.
I need to like really experience it, even if it's not ready,
Right.
but you know.
The potential, you can see the potential, Ms. Scope.
Oh, yes, I
Absolutely.
can.
Okay, are there any other new board members? I would like to acknowledge you, but I don't know your names, so please speak out and introduce yourself. Taya, do you recognize anyone?
Ms. Johnson, did you want to speak? No.
Okay, and I see a hand. Shawnee Lee, do you have a question or a comment?
Yes, I do. Good evening. My name is Shanae Lee. I'm the daughter of Joy Chattel and one of the co-chairs of Friends of Abolitionist Place. And I just need clarity in regards to the meetings that will be taking place. You said, Justin, that there's a separation in regards to the meetings with the open space and also with the art and the artist that is to take place. Now, we're definitely interested in both. So we want to know, will there be public dialogue and interaction in regards to the meeting you're having for the artwork and the artist? Because this is where we really have been very passionate about wanting the community's vision of having representation of abolitionist work. We've put in a lot of years, we've added decades onto this fight to make sure Black voices and the history that Africans have contributed to that particular area in Brooklyn. So I need to know and hear that the public will be included.
So appreciate the question, Ms. Lee, and really just really quickly want to shout out, you know, the work that you and the Friends of Abolitionist Place have done over the years, because obviously the open space has definitely, you know, gone in a different direction because of your advocacy. So really appreciate that. Now on the art and the art installation, as you all know, that is something that DCLA is in charge of. They will be coming back to the community to update them on to update you all on next steps. So there will be a number of opportunities for the community to have a conversation or somewhat of an open dialogue with DCLA and the artist about next steps.
I'm concerned about the steps. What are the steps and why don't we know about the steps? And will we be given information in time to know and understand the steps?
I will reach out to DCLA and follow up with them to provide you all with some next steps via email before there is a meeting that will happen.
I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Of course, Ms. Lee. Appreciate the question.
Thank you. Are there any more comments or questions about this very informative update? I'm looking for hands raised or people waving at me. I don't see any. Taya, is there anyone that you can see who
I
wants
think
to?
Mr. Rothblatt has a closing request.
A closing comment, okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
and Mr.
Dew's hand just went up as well.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks again for the yet another opportunity to speak. I'm hoping that we can have a formal role, Friends of Abolitionist Place can have a formal role in partnership with the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership. I mean, we have a cultural space. I would love to not just rely on, you know, public announcements on in, you know, some tweet or somewhere. I would really like to have a proactive communication on behalf of the EDC and the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership, so that, you know, we can have some input and really help design it. We're going to be this is not just the physical space, but also the programming. We you know, have been doing a lot of work, and we want to be proactive in that, and we hope we can have a formal role in the future of the programming and planning. Thanks.
I appreciate the comments, Earl. I'm just curious, have you at all had any conversations with Downtown Brooklyn Partnership about your interest in working with them to partner with programming and maintaining the space?
You know, we haven't had a warm and fuzzy relationship. I would love to start that. When we work to preserve the history of Mama Joy's house, the EDC spent $500,000 on a report to dismiss the historical importance. So we have some history there. But we want to refresh the whole thing. We actually don't have any sort of contact over there. I went up the other day, I saw somebody from the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership and said hello, said, hey, how are you doing? And I didn't hear back from them. I gave them my card. I haven't heard back from them. I would really encourage, if you can connect us, I would greatly appreciate it. So we have not had any contact. We would love to have some contact. And any help that you can do would be great.
Absolutely. I'll follow up with you separately, Ro.
Great. I know that Mr. Dew has a final word or two. Mr. Dew, your hand is still up.
Final word. Yes, my question is, do you have any information about how long the construction and how much the project is the core of all that's necessary until the park is completed and ready for community consumption?
I'm sorry, Mr. Dew, and apologies if I'm the only one, but I had a lot of difficulty. Yeah, I had a lot of difficulty hearing the question. So if you could repeat that, I really appreciate it.
I said, do you have any idea of the cost of the construction of the park and the timeline before completion?
Yes, I'm curious. I'm a little confused by timeline before completion. What are you?
Yes, what are the steps that have to happen before the actual construction of the park begins? And then how long is the construction period?
Construction has begun. And we are anticipating this to be completed in August of 2023. So about a little over a year from now.
Okay, thank you.
No
And
problem,
how much of the cost?
Simon, is that a answer that you have?
Yeah, I think the cost is currently unknown. We're taking on some additional costs in doing the revision to the design, but we wanted to show this to the community board and then take it to PDC before the design team really takes it fully and develops construction documents and the actual construction is revised. So the actual cost is a little unknown at this moment as we work through these steps, but we wanted kind of to get your input and to show it to the community board before that steps forward. So I think we'll be able to update you in the future with the full cost.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, hearing no further questions, I'd like to end this portion of the meeting, and we look forward to future updates, either in our committee or in the Parks Committee or any other committee that you're invited to. So thank you for your time and the ability to respond to some of our community concerns and to continue to respond, because clearly we have an active community that loves Brooklyn and loves celebrating the important historical past in the African-American community especially. Okay, so I thank you all, and
Thank you so
everyone's
much.
welcome to stay.
Yeah, thank you
But
for your time.
if you have other matters, that's okay. We go on to our committee discussion. We have Youth Council reports and statement of district need. Are the Youth Council members here? Let me see. I would like to do that part first, actually.
So I was expecting one of them to be here. Two of them are away on summer internships, very competitive summer internships because we got the best. One of them is traveling with their family and having connectivity issues. And one of them I just spoke with this afternoon, but is not here. They have entered their submissions in the statement of needs spreadsheet, however.
Okay, so we will look at
I
that.
think they're
and-
the only ones from this committee that have done so.
Okay, we still have a little time. Thank you for the little push. Okay, Taya, do you know, are they graduating seniors, or are any of them expecting to join us again next year?
Actually, there two are sophomores, two are juniors, and two of them, one of each, have actually asked to continue on some research this summer because they would like to see their projects through to the board vote in October, which I am happy to do for as long as I'm here.
Absolutely. So two, and I'm just taking notes because my secretary isn't here. So two are going to continue through the summer with their project. Okay. Very good, thank you. So now we can look at the statement of district need. Taya, can you share that screen?
Yes, 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, just a quick, see. Yes, I'm unmuted. I'm not going to go over too much detail, but because we have so many new folks on the call tonight, and welcome, we love seeing new faces. Just the very brief summary is that every year, all 59 of the New York City community boards submit a statement of district needs and budget requests. So every community board is sort of left to their devices to do theirs as they see fit. This is how ours has evolved. There is a 101 with all of this information on the bottom for all of our board members because it is a research project in essence. It ends up being about a 50 to 60 page document every year. The second tab again is the summary of responses from last year's requests, color categorized by yes, maybes, no's, and if there's action or revision required. And then there's a tab for each of our 6 working committees, and also a tab that automatically collects responses to the same form, but in a Google survey format, which John Dew is currently the king of. And this is Yucca's. Oh, actually, we're missing one of the 4. So there's a much larger Word document that the 4 of them have been working on collaboratively that has a lot more information than this actually. And it looks like one of them didn't make it to the spreadsheet quite yet, but I assure you that there are, I think, about 4 pages of research backing this up. This is what Yucca has so far. It doesn't, so in the, sorry, it is so difficult to maneuver this on a tiny screen. I know it's going to make this hard to see, but can you see this furthest right column, committee notes and follow-up for FY24? I don't know if Barbara's still on the call, but her committee has done a great job of going through this tab and claiming if there's an X, it's probably because it was a Parks and Recreation Committee request from last year. They have claimed and copied over to this year's tab if they plan to pursue the request. And it looks like they are pursuing quite a few of them. We could do the same exercise together. It doesn't look like anyone's done that for Yucca yet, so we could go through it together if you like.
I'd like to see if the student youth council ideas first, and then we can go into that.
Sure. Again, I'm sorry that none of them are here to present this themselves because we've talked about it so much offline, but I am very proud to share on their behalf. Sakura's doesn't quite capture the significant work that she's done outside of this, but in a nutshell, she has noticed, as each of them did an exercise where they were just asked to observe their circumstances as they were going to and from school, if they go to school in the district, or to or from home, if they live in the district. And that was the better part of the first month of their activities, was just, you know, having open eyes and being really intentional about observing the community around them. And one of the things that Sakura noticed is that she has a lot of concerns around taking public transit as a teenage girl. Part of that, no doubt, exacerbated by COVID. There is a question mark here. Unfortunately, there is a document that has quite a bit of data, and what she was not able to cram into this little box is that she's actually undertaken a survey of all of the teenage girls in 2 classes of her high school. And they've all filled out this survey that asks various questions about their feelings of safety and security as a teen girl. So this is a little vague, but what she has landed on is the result that she wants to see is more signage to increase safety, more resources, so that if you are a single female in the subway system by yourself and you are feeling uncertain or unsafe, that you can look around and really know easily what you can do to increase your feeling of safety.
Does she have ideas about what some of these signs would say?
I think so, and we have to get the part that we're going to have to work on together over the summer. And this is, you know, it's a good example for any of you all that want to work on ideas like this. The tricky part is she's done a good job of being specific to the district. However, the request is complex because, you know, the MTA doesn't often do initiatives that, like safety initiatives, that only impact subway systems in one community district, right? But something that, you know, some low-hanging fruit might be, maybe there is funding for an art project or an art installation that increases safety and security. There are funds for that. So I would say that the solution part of this request probably needs more work. But honestly, I would say that H is the hardest category for everyone. Because if you think about it, it's always really easy for people to identify what they don't like. It's easy for people to say what the problem is. It's harder to come up with a solution that is based in reality, that has some supporting evidence of viability from other similarly sized urban centers, or even from other boroughs where things have been tried, right? So column H is really where the deep research comes in. And I would say that the strength of the content in column H is really what makes this, any idea, robust or not. Maddie's is a little bit further. She actually has the same problem though, right? She's still looking for examples. So her need statement is there are 4 NYCHA campuses in the district, and Maddie has lived experience as a lifelong 3rd generation NYCHA resident. And so she says, there are many problems in the NYCHA system. And I just want to give her credit because she had actually written a very long, very eloquent statement that had to be condensed to fit this format. And she really put her heart into this. There are many problems in the NYCHA system, including lack of care and attention, lack of basic utilities, hot water, heating, safety issues, and city resources are scattered and difficult to navigate. In particular, NYCHA youth often feel disenfranchised and don't want to talk about these issues. They feel that they need to settle for what they're given, or they say things like, I just don't know what to do, in essence, to improve their housing circumstances, right? And she's done quite a bit of research. She said, while there are some youth support systems, like the University Settlement Society's Cornerstone programs at Atlantic and Ingersoll campuses, and the Navy Yard Boys and Girls Club serving Farragut, these programs are mostly focused on enrichment programs, not civic action or self-advocacy. And we still need to confirm this is true, but I couldn't find anything that disproved it. She says, none of the 4 NYCHA campuses in our district have an active youth council, although they all have active tenant associations. She's still researching. We need to confirm that that's true, but like I said, I have not been able to find anything that disproves that. So the results she would like to see: there should be more funds and resources for NYCHA youth to help them feel empowered to advocate for their housing needs. So an initial feedback was that we're actually not allowed to request policies in an annual budget because that's not a budget request. That's actually a legislative process. We also can't ask for more funding for a nonprofit that is not a city agency. However, this is clearly a very strong problem that has been ID'd. So now we just need to phrase it to ask, what do you want the city to do about it, right? And we're going to get there. Maddie has been super energetic, and I really hope she's committed to working on it this summer. So far, it looks good. So the next step,
awesome. I have a question. Do you know if she has reached out to Councilperson Hudson's office? That office might be interested in supporting her in this work, because we're talking about ultimately supporters or partners. And then the other possible support could be the cornerstone programs that are in each or many of the NYCHAs. They're supposed to have a youth advocacy group, and maybe they kind of whittled away in COVID. And Nick could probably talk more about that, but they are supposed to, they're funded to engage the young people in.
Two things. No, she hasn't reached out to Hudson's office because the city council discretionary funding process is a separate process from the city, from this budget process. The partners she identified are the 4 tenants associations, right? And as I mentioned before, Cornerstone only exists at Atlantic and Ingersoll. Cornerstone doesn't exist at Farragut and Baldwin. Sam Johnson, come off mute, please.
So I believe BCS, and Nick, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes,
he stepped off of the call.
If Farragut still has that program, but BCS is the service provider for that. I will also say, in conjunction to the Youth Council, it is a part of a Cornerstone's contract to maintain a Youth Council, as well as there's another, like an Elders Council. Nick, help me with the language, but there's supposed to be another council advisory. So there's supposed to be an advisory council as well as a youth council that is mandated within every Cornerstone's contract, unless that has changed. But she is accurate. The active ones are not as active as they say on paper. So I'll just stop there.
Love it. Thank you so much, Sam.
Thanks. Yeah. So Sam, talking about, I mean, you have a very, close knowledge of some of these programs. And I know that in the past we talked about the Farragut and maybe getting another floor for that gym or sports, a recreational space. Do you know if anything happened on that? And are there people using that community center in Farragut?
So my understanding is it's still being underutilized. I don't know if the floor has been repaired. To my knowledge, I haven't heard anything about any repairs going on to any of the Cornerstones in the neighborhood, with the exception of maybe Atlantic Terminal. And that was just their floor was just renovated and remodeled when Cumbo was in. So that was a whole new renovation that happened about maybe 3 years ago, maybe 4. So as far as I know, there hasn't been any real significant changes to the Cornerstones. The main thing has just been what management has looked like. So they have new directors now, which might be more open to hearing and expressing, collaborations with everyone. So Ingersoll just obtained a new director, and I believe Atlantic Terminal has a newer director. They're not new to the area, but they're newer in that role.
I'm glad you brought this one up, because if you can see the screen, I've pulled up the request from last year. It says repair the gymnasium floor at Farragut houses. I think the reason this made it through the board vote is because the request was really robust. The research is there, the numbers are there. A DOE project cost range for gymnasium upgrades is 50 to 400,000. Great. PS 158, blah, blah, blah. There's an example cited, etc. So I think that's why the agency response wasn't no. They suggested that we contact our local council for discretionary funds, because the agency, which in this case is NYCHA, the agency supports this request, but funding is not available at this time. That makes a lot of sense if you think about it. So because this process is for budget requests for city agencies. They're saying NYCHA has no budget this year. Ask your city council member for discretionary funding. And I think the follow-up to this is, let's take that advice and somebody do this work to request the funds from city council. That is an entirely separate funding process. And that typically the next one will open in January, usually.
Okay,
So
that's
all that to say that, you know, if you do all this work to put in a request and the city comes back with a no, pay attention if they direct you elsewhere, because that means that maybe funding is available, just more work needs to be done. I just feel
The
like
other,
an
the
easy
other
one
thing
to get.
that, Tanya, the other thing to consider is also that each city council person can give funds to a district. So they're not limited, like Crystal may not be able to give it to her in her budget, but Lincoln Wrestler might be of interest, right? So I think that diversifying the attempt of finding funds, even if it's $1,000 here and there, could be a much larger project, of course. But then also thinking about smaller group funds, like I want to say Citizen Action or something of that nature, of New York, which they give kind of like land funds for the gardens and stuff. I think these are
Trust
ways
for public land.
Yeah, no, it's oh my God, like everybody has the I'm drawing a blank, but basically it's like a small fund that is given out to neighbors. I think it's like citizen neighbors or something. I'll find the actual term.
Citizens Committee of New York.
Boom, there you go. So I know that they have even offered for like mutual aid groups to get funding and support. Obviously it was during COVID, but I think that there's a new way that we can start looking at how we can create safe spaces and spaces to be utilized more and maximized that are outside of city agencies, because that's always seems to be our issue, where we're leaning on city agencies, we get denied, we say we're going to do it again. And it's the same thing. No city council member is really going to have as much funding or interest if that's not their agenda moving forward. You know what I'm saying? So I think we might need to look at how NYCHA can be maximized, especially with Ingersoll, because there's a lot of money. It's over $25 million that is being used now due to the air rights deal that was created on Tillery.
Right.
And a lot of community members are still unsure about where that money was going or is going. And we can start talking to TA presidents and seeing if the youth councils can negotiate something that's not a city-wide or city funded, that where is those funds actually going? So I think those are deeper conversations.
Hmm. So you're suggesting talking to tenant leaders?
I believe talking to tenant leaders and also really mobilizing the young people, as our board member is stating, and figuring out how do we usurp the actual way to make money flow for our young people that is not city agencies. Because it's really interesting how there's scaffolding, and full disclosure, everyone knows I'm a NYCHA resident, there's funding for art in the scaffolding in NYCHA, but yet we don't have youth programming. And that's with the mayor's office of criminal justice and all these other things. So there's money for young people in program and advocacy, but it's what they allocate it for. And it's really not listening to young people saying, I want a better park, or I want to have some type of social justice programs. It really is allocated on their budget. So how do we find funds? And a lot of tenant association leaders are always offered some type of access to funds, but who's at the table negotiating that? And I don't think any young people under 25 are in this space.
Yeah, so that's an important discussion that we could understand better, if there's any way that we can, push this further. Yeah. Are there any more thoughts on this? Can we move on to other items on the statement of district needs, and then figure out what we as a committee are going to do over the summer, so that when we get back in September, there'll be a robust document for us to work with?
I see a hand up from an attendee named Principa. you like to come off mute? Hello.
Hi, how are you? Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. I am the proud principal of PS 287. I saw you guys advertisement on Instagram tonight. I work with Tirana. So I just quickly want to add to the conversation about youth voice. And I know that was centered around NYCHA, but in the district, we also have strong student governments from elementary to high school. And they've been working diligently around International Baccalaureate components, international mindedness, and action. So taking their learning and putting it into action. So if there's an opportunity coming up, in the next school year, really considering an opportunity to meet with student governments within the area, because they really have been working towards some of this work. And I think hearing their voices in on it, or as the youth committees come together within the NYCHA projects, within the NYCHA buildings, that can be another way that that voice can come together with what we do within our school buildings.
Thank you, Principal Bishop. We've been very interested and active as a committee for years, trying to have student members of our committee, we call them Youth Council, and we've been reaching out to high schools because when we have in-person meetings, students have to get to them, and that could be complicated with elementary school children. And I know that you're in a district where it's elementary and middle, but Principal Bishop, do you have more ideas on how we can have youth voice within our committee, as well as maybe looking at our statement of district needs? So I guess that's two questions. And please come back again to our committee.
No problem. So I think one of the things that we did was leverage the pandemic, and we used our social media platform. So I think that being creative with a poll on Instagram can bring some of that commentary and data that you need. I think that maybe a challenge to schools could be something, because several of the schools have Instagram, YouTube accounts, Facebook accounts, and getting video responses. So one of the things that we've done, any challenges that we did during the pandemic, we had video because we couldn't do it live in real time. So sometimes that voice doesn't necessarily have to be at the same time. It can be recorded and submitted. So student governments across District 13, want to hear your voices around whatever the question is. I can't see the spreadsheet too well. Whatever that question is, give the timeline, student governments turn in that video submission, and now you have that voice live and in person. So now you have multi-generational voices, and you're building this advocacy and public voice for students beyond just high school, who will then eventually go to college sooner than the elementary and middle school. So you're building up the civic responsibility. I think that would be the easiest way right now. That's not too taxing. Most schools right now, I know that we have a team for social media. So most schools right now have a team around that work that will get that done. So just video challenges could be an easy way to get the lower grades in.
Thank you. That's helpful. Can you please come to our meetings in the future and, tell us more about these ideas and how we can actually work in partnership on this?
Most definitely. No problem.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have more to cover in our statement of district needs conversation? Taya, can we go back to that document and see if there's anything further for us to discuss? I'm thinking, unless my committee disagrees, that each of us take like 1 or 2 topics to research this summer, and we could say what we're interested in exploring.
So there are no other additions for this year. Are you talking about reviewing the ones from last year?
Yeah, we want to see if there are any that are worth, bringing forward and maybe making more robust.
So keep your eyes on this and let me know stop me when you see one that was from this committee. This is housing, community fellows. This one actually sort of, well, that's not this committee, but for what it's worth, the community doulas program is rolling out in force. Zoning and land use, NYCHA community facilities. That's land use, pedestrian safety, roadway maintenance, transportation, public safety, business incubator, commercial district needs, SPS, business. I'm not seeing any others that came out of this committee last year. Does anybody remember advocating for one?
Yeah, well, we had the one about the Farragut and the floor in that recreation community center. We had one, I remember writing about trash outside the schools
Oh,
and the
here we
rat
go.
problem.
Okay. So hiring and training of school nurses. Our district suffers from extremely high pediatric asthma rates, etc. Funding for this type of program is decided at the local level. Contact the borough field support centers for the school. So
As I said last time, Taya, that's actually incorrect. So I think we weren't, or at least I'll take responsibility. I wasn't aware when this response came back. This has to, the school nurses are funded by the Department of Health and not the borough field support, and there's a nursing shortage. So
is it possible that that has changed recently? Because this was the response from the city agency.
but they're not correct. The borough field support office doesn't have nurses. It's through the Department of Health and the Office of School Health. But maybe we will look at this more. Okay, so I'll look at this one again. The school, maybe reword it, school nurses. Okay.
The agency response to the gymnasium floor at Farragut was that the agency supports this request but does not have funding. And they suggested to contact the local electeds for appropriations. So I wouldn't recommend advocating for this again, but if somebody's interested, and of course the problem, of course, is, you know, many community boards have a friends of. Ours is not very active. So the problem is that a lot of the funding that Sam was describing, even for example, a lot of that funding is available for 501c3 nonprofits, right? So what I'm reading from this response is, this is a good request. It doesn't fall under this particular funding process. Is anybody interested in pursuing this idea elsewhere? It's just, it kind of falls outside of SDNBR, you see?
What did they just say?
Hi, Ms. Carter Jones. Did you have a question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Okay. The next one was, did this come from Yucca?
No.
That was Hess, I think. So I think that might have been the only Yucca requests last year, because the rest of this is parks.
Okay, then I think I can write to each of our members and ask them to take one or two topics that they're passionate about and just start to write something about it and do a little research, because I mean, as a committee, we haven't been asked for as many action items. I would say we haven't been as active in the past. Maybe it's because, you know, COVID and the way we're meeting, we used to travel and go to different schools and libraries and cultural entities. So, I mean, thinking about the cultural entities, we remember a few years ago, we had that program speak for the children who were less than 5 so that their families could get a free pass to some of the cultural institutions. Do we know what has happened to that, and can somebody investigate that? Okay, do people have other ideas about how we're approaching this? No, okay.
Didn't the New York Pass provide access to those cultural institutions?
Wait, who's speaking? I'm sorry.
My name is Aaliyah Baki Vaughn, and I know years ago my child used to get the passes to the cultural institutions through their school. But what I was
Right.
asking is, I thought when they created the New York pass, for people to identify that's when you got, that was a way for people to be able to get passes and significant discounts to cultural institutions. So I didn't know if that had impacted that.
Well, I think because many of these cultural institutions have been closed, for COVID for 2 years, that on this year, they kind of different ones opened in different ways. Okay, so we can investigate that this summer and see if there's an aspect that we want to pursue. Who else is on this? Santia, do you have any specific ideas or just like one nugget that you want to think about, do a little research and bring to us for September?
I'm willing to take anything. I don't have anything in particular that I'm interested in.
Okay, what about the cultural institutions, finding out if the library still has that program or other? Have you been to the new library?
Not as of yet. I plan to maybe on Saturday.
Okay, so yeah, if you could look at that and find out what's available, and even to say maybe it is available and that we want this, whatever city agency is related to that, maybe Department of Cultural Affairs, to publicize it more. That could be what we want, if the program is already there, but I've kind of lost track of it, over the last few years. Okay. I'm about to speak. You're distracting me. It's distracting me. Okay. Okay, so I think we have said what we needed to say, and I'll write to all of our members as well as the new members, I hope, of our committee. If there's something about schools, young people, cultural affairs, we should try to get it into this document and work on it this summer. And people can always email me if you want to discuss it. We can have a phone call and so on. Okay, so for the chair's report, I just want to say that the city has begun the discussion of the zoning for the new District 13 elementary school, which is in that Albee Square area. It's in a mixed-use apartment building, and I think they will be 3 floors that will be devoted to a public elementary school for District 13. And there's the beginning of a discussion saying will this be a zone school, meaning this block, depending on where you live? Will it be a magnet program that everyone from the district can apply? Will it be a lottery? Will it be maybe relocating another school to that location? We don't know yet. But as members of the community board, and we were very active in the rezoning of downtown Brooklyn, I think it's important that we be part of the conversation. So I can let you know about future meetings, but I think we should be very attuned to that. Are there any questions about that from anyone? Okay, and then the next year there'll be a new middle school which will come online in the Atlantic Yard Pacific Park area. And that'll also be a question, who gets to go? When you have a bright new middle school with all new facilities and equipment and an excitement, who gets to go? Okay. That's the end of my chair's report. If there are no questions, other committee business? Does anyone on the committee have anything new they want to bring up? Okay, and then anyone from the community who wants to bring something up?
Yes, I would like to bring something up.
Okay, I'm not seeing who everyone is, so tell me who you are and please bring something up.
Sure. My name is Aaliyah Baki Vaughn, and I am the co-chairperson of the Friends of Abolitionist Place, which has been working to preserve the building that was formerly used as the site on the Underground Railroad. I'm here because we're very concerned about the park, the building, the land next to that park, which we have, with much community support, called the Abolitionist Park. And we're just concerned about the meetings that have been called to discuss what that park's design should reflect. We have quite a number of members of the community that have been participating in some programs that we have had. Many of the meetings that were scheduled for the discussion of that community discussion were rescheduled and held with very, very few people in attendance. Our last speak out had over 40 people, and excuse me, and we just would like to inform you all that we're going to be engaged in a survey of the community residents in the area and the businesses to get their sentiments about what the park should reflect. And it will include students and their interest in possibly seeing a site that was on the Underground Railroad, because it was previously used for that purpose and there was great delight and interest in it. And we would like to have some conversation about how this committee might work with us to engage youth in interest and have their desires reflected in the use of that park, which, as you know, will be in a location that will be surrounded by a number of schools, both middle school, high school, and elementary.
Indeed, yes. So I understand that you can be in touch with the district office. Our committee is very interested in this work, and we will certainly elevate and promote it. If you're having a meeting and you want us to attend, let Taya know in the district office and we'll get the word out. This is something we've been following and advocating with you for a long time. So, we're delighted to continue our work.
Okay, I'll be glad to inform you about when we're having meetings or events and how anybody might be interested in any participation in the survey that we'll be conducting over the summer.
That's excellent. Is there anyone else from the community that has a question or a remark or something to bring before the committee?
Good evening. I definitely want to just thank you guys for opening up this forum and platform and just share two things that we're preparing to do as we close out school. The last day of school for students is June 27th. So we're having our first dance festival and carnival. During the carnival, we'll be raising funds for cancer research. So if possible, if you can stop by, we greatly appreciate it. And we're also doing our open enrollment registration. Every child that registers to our school, we're 3K to 5th grade program. Every child that registers receives a free gym uniform. And if as soon as possible, we'll do an open tour. So I think I'm sending the information over to Taya so that she can get it as well. But any further questions or any ways we can support, please do not hesitate to reach out to 2287.
Thank you, Principal Bishop. I have a question about the 3K program. Is it fully enrolled or do you need help with that enrollment process?
I do need help with the enrollment process, and we also received a grant, the Gifted and Talented for 3rd grade. So I have two major areas that I want to open up enrollment for. I think I just emailed Taya as well. So we have 3 seats. We have some seats on the waiting list for 3K. In my email, I detailed my numbers, but definitely for 3rd grade G&T. We have a program that's going to infuse AVID and International Baccalaureate, and I have about 20 seats open for 3rd grade specifically.
Great. That's exciting. So good luck with those programs. And we'll help you whatever way we can. I'm not involved with this, but our community board, the health committee, in collaboration with many of the health partners in the community, are doing a full day health fair. I believe, Tay, it's in Commodore Barry Park on the 25th. And if you can let all your students and your families know about that, and you can also probably speak to young families there that seem to have 3-year-olds and so on, and, you know, talk about your school, because it's a community health awareness and community celebration event. I think Wegmans is helping co-sponsor it, so it sounds like there'll be good treats.
Yeah, they're great. I think I shared it. I reposted it onto our story and Instagram today. So if you get a chance on our story, I think you guys are like the last part of the story. We had twin days, so you have to weed through the twins to get to the health and wellness fair that'll be right across the street from our school. So I definitely did share it, but I'll be more intentional about sending it through our Class Dojo and our Kinvolve applications.
Thank you. And I see Miss Jones has a hand. Is that a hand from before, or is this a hand
No,
now that I'm calling you?
It's actually a new hand. Thank you. Hi, my name is Tyriana Carter Jones. I'm actually the daughter of the late Mr. Edward A. Carter, who was a community board member
him,
for
yeah.
for many years. Well, I'm just coming back trying to get involved. I would like to sit or actually get on some of the committees, because I've been doing some ground root work to see what's the concern of the community and their actions, and there's a lot going on, and a lot of people has came to me to address some of the concerns, especially the youth. I have a great relationship with the youth population, and they're being open to me about their concerns and what they need done. And I work very closely with Principal Bishop, because we know our youth are our future, and they are suffering right now with all the violence, the gun violence, not enough programs. So Samantha, you know, is a great friend of mine. I asked her, which way can I go to start getting more involved so I can help out the community and their needs and bring it to the table. So I'm looking forward to possibly trying to join some of the committees to become a part of, to give you guys input on what the community needs, because I've been here for almost 50, well, not almost, for 60 years. So I'm looking forward to trying to get and become a part of, to bring some things to the table that maybe you guys don't have hands on to know that I do, from being a part of the community. So I'm looking forward to working with you guys.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I just want to become a part of and just kind of like build these youths up, because the youth they don't have any programs, they have nowhere to go. Farrakhan Center is closed, Whitman don't have a center, and you know, they're stressing their needs and concerns to me. So I would like to bring it to the committee and be a part of a mouthpiece for the youth, and anything else I could do to bring to the community, what you say, programs, actions, or whatever. So thank you for just allowing me to introduce myself to you guys.
I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you every month. We're off in the summer, but in September, it's the 4th Wednesday of every month, and you can contact Taya, get on the various lists to be notified, and welcome. And as you probably know, the rules are like, if you attend the same committee or committees for a few months, you get a feel of it. Then when it comes time to apply for the board, that's like your prerequisite kind of thing.
You got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So have a wonderful summer. Were there any other hands? Taya, do you see any other hands?
I had a hand. Ellis.
Hi, Miss Ellis. Hi.
I have a question. I have a quickie question. I hope you don't mind, for Principal Bishop. Principal Bishop, June 27th. If it's a sunny day, I might just take a walk and end up in front of your building. What time? Where am I going to go? Where's, you know, there's money to be given to young people. It's like, wow.
Perfect question. So we start our dance festival at 9 a.m. that day. It will be in our schoolyard, yeah.
Okay.
And the carnival portion will be available for participants around 10:30 as we wrap up the carnival. It'll be open to all.
And so what is the fundraising piece, the I got a little bit.
Oh, you will get to dunk our gym teacher for $1. So you get to dunk Mr. Guglielmo for $1.
At the
It's a
carnival?
festival. Yes.
Okie dokie. I never even met this guy. Okay.
What a gym teacher to volunteer. for
Yes,
that.
he's very brave. We're celebrating him.
Well, speaking about that, I just want to, it looks to me like Principal Bishop is in a school building right now.
I am, and I need to leave. Yes.
Exactly. But that's how you get your principal, that's how you get your gym teacher to be okay with being dunked, because he sees the work that you're putting in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I
Alice,
appreciate
that
it.
was well said. Yeah, it's
Thank
true.
you.
When staff see that their leader is putting in the work, it's inspirational.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's humbling. Thank you
Okay,
so
so I don't see any other hands. Is there a motion to adjourn? Santia, what time is this for my minutes? 7:29. Santia and anyone else? Well, we all agreed. Okay. Motion to adjourn. Okay, thank you. Have a healthy and safe and delightful summer. We are going to continue working on our statement of needs. And there will be other events. I'm sure we'll see each other in the community. Do well. Good night. I see a nice comment from this Adam Rubin. Great. Okay. Good night, everyone.